Honor Code. I found this magazine out of pure dumb luck, and like most of you, I couldn't put it down. After reading a few of these confessions, I thought about telling you one of my own, the deepest, darkest secret in the world, something that would bury me. I'm not asking for absolution, I'm just asking you to listen. I mean, I never thought I was that kind of girl. Right. So I was 19. Young and pretty. People have always told me so. I'm from a town from nowhere, and I was starting college at St. Augustine's. The Catholic school way out east. Big dreams. Then I screwed up. Monumentally. I cheated on a final exam. Got caught. Kicked out. Honor Code violation. Boom. My whole world just ended. The worst part? I had to tell my mom. My mom, she was beautiful, once a model in her younger days. Pictures from back then made me say wow, but now, she's divorced and struggling. Barely making rent, working doubles at the diner. My scholarship was everything. This news, well, I know it would break her. So I came home for the summer, suitcase heavy with textbooks I wouldn't need and this crushing secret that nobody knew, but I had to find a way to tell her. Walking into the house felt like stepping into quicksand. The familiar smell of lemon polish and something different. Cologne? And then I saw him. Mr. Kent was Mom's new man. My mom said he owned several bars in town and was very successful. He had broad shoulders under a crisp white shirt, dark hair just starting to silver at the temples, and was as tall as the doorway. Handsome doesn't even cover it. Ruggedly handsome and muscular in a way that filled out his clothes perfectly. My stomach did a flip when saw him. He shook my hand, his grip firm and warm. His eyes were intense and really dark blue, like the ocean before a storm. They seemed to see right through me. I felt flustered and swallowed hard when I looked into them. My thoughts about him, I shouldn't even be having them, because my mom loved him, but was it wrong? I don't know. It was all so crazy. The next few days were torture. Watching him with Mom, his easy charm, the way he touched her buttocks with dominance. He was attentive, sure, but those eyes, they'd find me across the room. A flicker of something. Curiosity? Amusement? I didn't know. I started fantasizing. Lying in my old twin bed at night, I was imagining his hands, big and strong. Imagining that intense gaze focused only on me. What would his lips feel like? The thoughts scared me, but I couldn't stop them. They were a welcome distraction from the expulsion. Then disaster. It was Tuesday afternoon. Mom was at work. I was in the kitchen, trying to make lemonade, my hands shaking. Mr. Kent came in, holding up a letter. He said he was sorry. He said he opened a letter he thought was a bill. Apparently he had been helping my mom with the bills for some time now, and that it was something for me. My heart stopped. He said, expulsion notice, then said, does your mom know about this? He looked straight at me. Alice? His voice was calm. Too calm. Panic. Pure, blinding panic. I launched myself at him, grabbing his arm. Please. Please, Mr. Kent. Don't tell Mom. You don't understand what this would do to her, please. Tears streamed down my face. I was begging. I'll do anything, just please, don't tell her. My voice cracked. He gently, but firmly, detached my hand. He looked down at me, a strange mix of pity and something else. I'll have to think about it, Alice, this is significant. He tucked the letter into his jacket pocket. He left me standing there, trembling, lemonade forgotten. Think about it? What did that mean? The uncertainty was worse than knowing. My mind raced. He was attracted to me and I'd seen it. That was my leverage, I thought. My only chance. I had to make sure he wouldn't tell. I had to seduce him. Tie him to me and make him complicit. It was a desperate, stupid plan, but it was all I had. I spent the next day watching him, planning. I chose my clothes carefully. A pale blue sundress, cotton, light as air, with tiny white daisies embroidered around the neckline. It tied at the shoulders and looked girl-like, so innocent. And underneath, I put on my best. A matching baby blue brassiere and tiny panties, pure silk, smooth against my skin, with delicate ivory lace trim. Just in case. I felt reckless. Terrified. Excited. That evening, Mom went to her book club and the house was quiet. He was in the den reading a newspaper. I took a deep breath, smoothed my dress, and walked in. My heart hammered against my ribs. He looked up, surprised. "Everything all right?" "No," I whispered, my voice shaky. I walked right up to him. Before he could react, before I could lose my nerve, I leaned down and kissed him on the mouth. My lips pressed against his. It was clumsy, desperate. I pulled back slightly, breathing hard. I said in desperation, "Okay, now we have a secret between us, so you can't tell Mom about the letter. Because if you do, I'll tell her you kissed me first." I was so sure I had him. He didn't move for a second. Then slowly a smile spread across his face. Not a warm smile but a predatory one. He chuckled softly. "Oh, Alice, sweet naive Alice." He stood up, towering over me. The newspaper fell forgotten to the floor. He put a finger under my chin, forcing me to look up at him. His touch sent a jolt through me. "That's not how this works. If I tell your mother about the expulsion letter, which I absolutely will." He paused, letting the threat hang, "and then you try to tell her I kissed you." He leaned closer, his breath warm on my ear. "Who do you think she'll believe?" The horror washed over me. I hadn't thought of that. He was right. Completely right. I was trapped. Worse than before. He murmured so. Now his thumb was brushing my lower lip, sending shivers down my spine. "If you tell her I kissed you, I'll tell her you jumped me. That you threw yourself at me trying to stop me from exposing this letter, which is exactly what happened." I felt faint. The room tilted. He was right. He held all the power. My stupid plan had backfired spectacularly. Tears welled up again, hot and shameful. "I'll give you anything, Mr. Kent. I have some money." He tilted his head, studying me like a fascinating specimen. "What do I want?" He traced a line down my throat with his finger, tracing the neckline of my sundress, brushing my flesh. "Perhaps I want to explore this strange thing you have for me." His finger dipped lower, just grazing the swell of my breast above the silk brassiere. A gasp escaped me. It wasn't just fear anymore. A treacherous heat pooled low in my belly. "Your mother will be home in 2 hours. Meet me in the living room in 10 minutes. He leaned in again, his lips brushing my ear. "Wear something pretty." He walked out, leaving me trembling, my legs like jelly. I was horrified. And yet a forbidden excitement pulsed through me. He hadn't said no, and he'd given me a command. A way out, maybe, to survive this. I rushed to my room. What was pretty? What did he want? I pulled out my white slip, with lace adornments around the neck and hem. It was a few years old, so it fit sung against my body. Underneath, I kept the silk set on, the baby blue feeling suddenly very exposed. I smoothed my hair, my hands shaking. 10 minutes later, heart pounding like a drum, I crept into the living room. The lights were dimmed. He was standing by the fireplace, a glass of amber liquid in his hand. He turned as I entered. His eyes traveled slowly down my body, taking in the innocent-looking slip. A slow, knowing smile played on his lips. He didn't say anything. He just walked towards me and then stopped in front of me. So close I could smell his cologne, woodsy and expensive. His hands found my waist, and he brought me closer to him. I gasped. I couldn't look away from his face, his intense focus. He slid off one of the straps off my shoulder, revealing the lace trim of my brassiere. "You have beautiful skin," he murmured as he slid off the second strap, fingers sliding on my skin. Now my breasts were swooning in the pale blue silk, as was my mind. I was starting to get wet down there and I could feel the danger. Slowly, deliberately, he undid the clasp of my bra. I was frozen in panic. Now my breasts were exposed and he proceeded to cup both of them with his hands, caressing and massaging with such light hands. I could feel my nipples in full attention. He took my chin and brought my mouth to his and kissed me softly, then with more pressure. I was exploding with pleasure. I had never been kissed like that before, a kiss from someone with experience and sensitivity. I wetted further, now I could feel my panties soaking through. He embraced me and kissed more deeply and I swooned, forgetting myself, my mind leaving my body and floating. His hands slid down my belly and through the elastic of my panties and he found me, open and willing. His fingers manipulating the wetness in widening strokes. I moaned and my legs started to give out. I fell to the ground in a thud, my head was spinning so hard I fainted. When I woke up, I saw him. It was my mother's bed, he was under the sheets with his shirt off just looking into my eyes. I couldn't remember how I got there and was startled. He stroked my bangs and said, "I thought you were kidding, but apparently you really did faint." I propped myself up with my elbow and I could look down and see I was only in my undergarments. He reached over and began again, drawing my hips towards his. He kissed me again and moving over me, arms splitting my legs, forcing me to accept his weight on me. I could feel a huge stiffness over my privates and my belly. It was massive and hard and I shrieked. He said nothing and continued to kiss my neck and I started to melt, the tickling feeling melting into sensual pleasure. I was being dominated by his large body on me. He ground his large member against my wetness and it felt divine. I was moaning with his kisses. That's when he reached down, threw off the sheets and then proceeded to pull down my panties. I protested and tried to stop him, but he kept going until he threw off my blue panties over his head. His eyes shifted to something more beastly and I knew I was in trouble. He set his weight on top of me again and I could feel his throbbing rod directly on my wet slit and I arched my back in ecstasy. The tip was pressing into me demanding entrance and I couldn't resist it. It transgressed my entrance and advanced further. Each advance I screamed in pain and he would advance again. He kissed me consuming my mouth and tongue and it advanced further, filling me up. It was so thick I thought I was going to split apart. A voice, not mine, said, "You can do what you want, Mr. Kent." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Did I say that? Then the motion started, in and out, so huge, so thick inside me, hitting my upper limit and filling me up. He was still kissing me and I had what I only could describe as an explosion. Now I know that was my first climax, the waves of pleasure shocking through me like electricity. I screamed into his mouth but he didn't stop. He was a freight train, moving forward with authority over my body, selfish and assured, knowing he owned me. He kept rolling me around as I was impaled with his rod. Wherever it went, I went, rolling, thrusting, I was engulfed in pleasure and then suddenly he stopped and blew his own top, gushing liquid into my insides, one at a time, each shot hitting me deep inside my limits. I could feel the pulsations and his body was convulsing. It was the single most amazing, most mind-blowing pleasure I had ever experienced. We held each other there, kissing and rolling for over a minute. I felt something strange, my mind was having this feeling of safety, of surrender. I was slowly letting him inside my mind, letting him invade it and I loved the feeling. It was complete, serenity. The next encounter happened a few nights later. Mom was asleep down the hall. My door creaked open around 2 a.m. I wasn't asleep. I'd been lying there staring at the ceiling thinking about him, about the living room, my body restless. I had been touching myself imagining how thick he was inside me. She shrieked and then I saw him. Just a dark silhouette filling my doorway. My heart leapt into my throat. He closed the door softly behind him. Locked it. The click was deafening in the silence. He walked towards my bed. I could smell his cologne, that woodsy scent that now made my pulse race. He didn't say a word. He just stood beside the bed, looking down at me in the dim light. I wore a simple white cotton nightgown with little pink rosebuds embroidered around the neckline and hem. It felt suddenly very flimsy. He reached down, pulled back the covers, exposing me. The cool air hitting my skin. He sat on the edge of the bed. His hand traced a path up my bare calf, over my knee, up my thigh. He pushed the nightgown up, bunching it around my waist. His touch was firm, deliberate. Possessive. He leaned over me. His other hand cupped my face. "Do you think about me?" His voice was a low rumble. I couldn't lie. I nodded. "Good," he said, then his lips claimed mine. This kiss wasn't like the desperate one I'd initiated. This was deep, demanding, all-consuming. His tongue invaded my mouth. I melted into it, responding helplessly. He took my hand and led me off the bed. He kissed me again as my head bent backwards to reach his lips. He then turned me around and laid me face down on the bed. He held my head down with his left hand as his right started to pull my cotton panties down. I was face down, face buried in my sheets, and now I felt exposed, more exposed than I ever was before. He started to rub me with his fingers and I moistened immediately, feeling the forceful nature of his gentle touch. He said "good girl" and he rubbed me and I could feel that dizziness coming back to my head. He released my neck and I could hear him undo his belt. I didn't dare to look up. I wanted him to know I wasn't going to put up a fuss. Then I felt it again, that thick thing, pressing up against me, again demanding entrance. He again advanced into me, bit by bit. I shrieked again and now his hand came over and covered my mouth. At the same time the hand pressed me further into him and his penetration was so deep into me, I felt like my head was going to pop with pressure. He started his taking, the taking of my innocence. I had never had anyone handle me from behind like this and the shame and strangeness of it made me extremely wet for him. I felt the feeling of submission wash over me again and I moaned and squeaked as he sped up his thrusts. I could hear the slapping of the flesh but couldn't do anything but breathe through my nose. I was almost suffocating now. Then the release, there was more this time and he gave me a torrent of his pressure. Shock after shock released a pressure of something deep inside me. I thought it was almost in my chest. Then the calm. He was breathing heavily when he slumped down, spent. Then the voice again, "Did I please you?" I would never even imagine saying something like that, but there I was, hearing my mouth say the words. "Yes, sweetheart. You did good. You did good," was his refrain as he slumped over me. After we cleaned up, we held each other for over an hour. It felt so good to rest my head on his muscular chest, playing with the curls of hair. The voice kept talking, saying silly things. "Do I make you happy? Do you like kissing me? I want to make you happy. I only want to please you." These words came from a place I didn't know existed, but it felt like a pocket of love from my heart. That was my only explanation. My mom was home a lot the next few days and each time Mr. Kent would visit I would have to spy on them. I became jealous of my mom, as she put her head on his chest, just like I did. Their kisses, their laughs. I hated seeing it. Then Mr. Kent said something about dinner and my mom went to her room to get ready. I presented myself to Mr. Kent in the living room and coyly touched his hand. "Hey, Mr. Kent. Miss me?" He smiled and sat me on his lap. I cuddled with him and looked up at him. "I missed you so much," the voice said. My face was as innocent as a puppy looking up at her master. His hands roamed along my thighs and slid up my skirt. I kissed him and he kissed me back with a soft passion that made me squirm in his arms. I could feel something pulsating below me as I continued to move and squirm with his touches, now advancing into my panties, stroking my buttocks. He looked around the room as if he were checking for something, then patted my buttocks and said, quickly, "Get on your knees." I wasn't sure what he meant, but I obeyed immediately. I got on my knees in front of him and he stood up. He quickly undid his pants and pulled out his large cannon. It looked larger from this angle and I marveled at it. He angled the tip to my lips and grabbed my chin. "Open," he whispered, and I opened my mouth. It was thick so it didn't quite fit in my mouth, but I tried my best. I stared into his eyes as I did the dirtiest of deeds, having someone's manhood inside my own mouth, moving inside and out. I was gushing down below at the danger. We could be exposed and I knew my mom would kill me, but I didn't care. I wanted to obey him and please him, so I complied with whatever he wanted. I wrapped my hands around his firm buttocks and kept moving my head in and out. He grunted with pleasure. He kept going and I thought this was so strange that this would please a man, but I could see I was doing something right. He started to grunt and said, "Swallow everything that comes out." Swallow? Did he mean the torrents of liquid that once overran my privates? I couldn't possibly do that, it didn't seem possible, but I knew what he expected of me. This was his command, so I was going to do my level best. He clenched his buttocks and then blew up inside my mouth. I could feel the liquid shoot to the back of my throat and I started to swallow. Wave after wave, there was too much and it dripped out of my mouth, but I tried to keep up. He was wrenching his stomach and his face looked like he was dying, but I kept going. He eventually slowed his pace and it became easier and I made sure I consumed every last drop. I sucked and sucked trying to get more and he kept convulsing. He let out a sigh of pleasure and relief that made me glow with accomplishment. I knew I had done it, given the man I was falling in love with, the ultimate pleasure. It made my head buzz with happiness. He raised me up and shooed me away. "Get out of here," he said as he started to do up his pants. I ran to my room, heart pounding. When inside, I just stood there. I couldn't believe what I did. I licked my lips and could still taste that strange taste, the taste I had never known before, let alone could describe. I fell onto my bed and just played the event over and over in my head. One weekend he had arranged a meeting for me in the city. He told Mom he was introducing me to a colleague for a summer job at a law firm. It was a cover story, but my mom was so excited. She kept adjusting my dress and hair and told me to be polite. Mr. Kent drove me to the city, to a part of town Mom never went to. One of his bars. It was dim, but classy, loud with jazz and raucous laughter. Dark wood, red leather booths. He led me down a narrow hallway, then to a heavy curtain. He pulled it aside. A small, private back room. Velvet drapes, a low table, a plush red sofa. It was intimate. Undeniably sultry. He'd told me to dress up and I saw some clothes on the table. It was a emerald green cocktail dress, satin, that shimmered under the low light. He sat down and observed me as I took off my clothes sheepishly for him and put it on. It had a sweetheart neckline that showed off my collarbones and hugged my curves down to just below my knees. Underneath, a black lace garter belt holding up sheer black stockings, and matching black lace panties and brassiere. I felt sophisticated. Dangerous and older. He sat on the sofa, pulling me down beside him. His arm draped around my shoulders, tracing patterns on my bare arm. The air crackled. He leaned closer. Then he set his glass down. Turned me towards him. His kiss was slow, deep, tasting of whiskey and smoke. His hands slid down my back, finding the zipper of the dress. He pulled it down slowly. The satin whispered against my skin. He pushed the straps off my shoulders. The dress pooled around my waist. He looked at me, sitting there in just the black lace brassiere, the garter belt, the stockings. His gaze was hot. Hungry. He unhooked the brassiere, letting it fall. His hands cupped my breasts, his thumbs circling my nipples. He leaned down, taking one into his mouth, sucking deeply. I gasped, tangling my fingers in his hair. His other hand slid down my stomach, over the lace panties. He rubbed my wetness through the fabric, his touch firm, knowing. He pushed the panties aside, his fingers finding my slick heat. He teased me, circling, dipping inside, driving me wild. Then he stood up. Unbuckled his belt. Unzipped his trousers. Freed himself. He was fully ready and huge. He pushed me back onto the sofa, pulled my panties down my legs, over my heels. He knelt between my thighs. Lifted my legs over his shoulders. He entered me in one powerful thrust, deeper than ever before. The position opened me completely and I felt like I was being split apart again. He moved with a slow, deliberate intensity, each thrust measured, deep, hitting a spot inside me that made me see stars. His eyes never left mine. This wasn't frantic like the jazz. This was possession. Absolute. His hands gripped my breasts, controlling the rhythm. He leaned down, kissing me roughly, his tongue mimicking the thrust of his body. I was completely lost. Surrendered. The heat, the smoke, the muffled sounds from the bar, the sheer decadence of it pushed me to a peak unlike any before. It built slowly, agonizingly, then crashed over me in a wave of pure, mind-blowing ecstasy. I cried out, my body arching, clenching around him. My release seemed to trigger his own. He groaned, a raw sound, burying himself deep inside me, pulsing as he released his forceful liquid into me, filling me completely. He held himself there for a long moment, his forehead resting against mine, both of us breathing raggedly. He finally pulled out, collapsing beside me on the sofa. We lay there in the dim, steamy back room, the sounds of the bar a distant hum. He traced a finger down my cheek. We cuddled there for an eternity, my head spinning. When I finally got my wits about me, he told me he needed to tell me something serious. He told me about his arrangement in Oakville. I would have a job doing simple secretarial work at a friend's law firm, a 30-minute bus ride away. He pointed at an envelope that was on the table. He calmly explained, "These are the keys to our place, the address, and all the rent is paid up. I'll give you a tour later." He looked at me, his expression serious now. "You tell your mother you got the job and will start work next week. Tell her you have a college friend that works at the same firm and that the job is perfect for you. Occasionally you'll work late and sleep at her house." He winked and smiled. He continued, "Later when the semester starts again, you can live and work there. The job is real. The place is real." I stared at him. "You're keeping me?" He nodded and I jumped on him and hugged him as hard as I could. "It's the only way to keep your secret safe." He leaned over, kissed me softly, almost tenderly. "You'll be comfortable. You'll want for nothing and I'll visit as often as I can. Let's go home and tell your mother the story." I sat there on the red velvet sofa, half-dressed, his seed drying between my thighs, the envelope on the table feeling like a contract. Guilt crashed over me. Guilt over lying to Mom. Guilt over what I was becoming. But beneath it, relief. Relief that the constant fear of discovery was lifted. Relief that I wouldn't have to face Mom's disappointment. And something else, a treacherous warmth. He hadn't discarded me. He was keeping me, claiming me, and God help me. I wanted him to. I was in love with him. This powerful, dangerous man who held my life and my pleasure in his hands. The shame was a constant ache, a shadow. But the thrill of his touch, the thrill of the secrecy, the thrill of being desired so completely, so possessively, it was stronger. He helped me back into my dress, his touch gentle now. He smoothed my hair. "My beautiful kept girl," he murmured. He kissed my forehead. Monday. He left me alone in the back room to gather myself. I looked at the envelope. My ticket to a gilded cage. My escape from one shame into another. My future, uncertain, built entirely on a lie and a forbidden desire I couldn't deny. That's my confession. That's how I became a kept girl. It's wrong, I know. But sometimes the wrong things feel the most right.